Hey, Mayor, now the meeting is being recorded.
Thank you. We will now reconvene the meeting at 6:04 p.m. City Attorney, can you please read out the closed session report?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. The City Council is now back in open session, having met in closed session to discuss the two items listed on the agenda. Staff provided a report for both, but no reportable action was taken. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no objection by the City Council, I will go ahead and close or adjourn the closed session meeting at 6:05 p.m. Good evening and welcome to the May 22nd, 2023, 6 p.m. regular joint meeting of the Bell Garden City Council and Successor Agency to the Community Development Commission. The meeting will now come to order at 6:05 p.m. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting live online through the city's website as noted on the agenda. If any members of the council should have a conflict of interest, please announce any item you're recusing yourself from due to a conflict of interest prior to the item being heard. Tonight's invocation will be given by our Executive Director of Recreation Community Services, Ms. Nava, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Girl Scout Troop 2543.
Good morning. Good evening. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for allowing me to have this privilege. I'd like to do an invocation from a prayer that's very familiar with everyone from the book of Matthew, chapter 6. Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our debts as we have also forgiven our debtors. And do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Please stand.
Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready to begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may now be seated.
City Clerk, can you please call roll of the members of the City Council and Successor Agency?
Yes, thank you. Members of the Council and Successor Agency, Barcelona.
Present.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilwoman Pulido.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Sanchez.
Present.
And Mayor Chair Cortez.
Present. Okay, City Manager, moving on to presentations. We will be tabling the first presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, Mayor Cortez.
Okay, we can move on to the next proclamation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Cortez. The next item is a proclamation that recognizes the month of June as LGBTQ plus month. Before I turn it over to the council member to read the proclamation, just remind everybody that the city's policy is to fly the appropriate flag at City Hall, at the Public Works Yard for the month of June. In addition to that, last year we had ordered and were able to put up banners on Eastern and Florence. With that, I'll turn it over for the reading of the proclamation. Thank you.
As we celebrate June as Pride Month in Bell Gardens, California, we're reminded that what makes California great is a remarkable capacity to advance together across our conceivable differences, no matter the physical distance between us. From our separate homes, we stand together with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual, and more LGBTQIA+ community of Bell Gardens, as they declare their pride in who they are and whom they love. Now be it resolved that I, Alejandra Cortez, Mayor of the City of Bell Gardens, with the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of June 2023 as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month in Bell Gardens and encourage all residents to eliminate prejudice wherever it exists and celebrate our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Pulido. Is there any comments for this proclamation? Okay. City Manager, the next proclamation, a recognition.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item is a certificate of recognition for the senior center staff. It's related to just some of the events that they've held at the staff there. And with that, I will turn it over to Councilmember Barsina for the certificate. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, City Manager. Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to read this certificate that is going specifically to our senior center staff. And I know a lot of them are here today, so thank you for coming. The City of Bell Gardens presents this certificate of recognition to staff for their dedication to the senior residents of Bell Gardens. The impact you have on those that you serve is evident through the quality and productivity of the programs you provide. The creativity and talents of the Recreation and Community Services Department, senior center staff have allowed the senior residents of our community an opportunity to experience exceptional programming, activities, and events which enhance their overall quality of life. And I'm just going to take a moment here to acknowledge that one of our commissioners, Ana Sanchez, came to me asking for this recognition, but I myself was able to see the exceptional work that you guys do, particularly at the event that you held for Mother's Day. And Supervisor Janice Hahn was there, and I managed to see her right before she left, and she was raving about the event. And it was just, I didn't know what she was talking about because I hadn't gone inside. But as soon as I went in there, it was just amazing the amount of detail and effort that staff puts into making these events happen in the way that they do for our senior residents. So I really appreciate that. And I'd like to call Ana Sanchez, if she can come up and say a few words. I know that she has something prepared for a couple of remarks for our staff.
And City Clerk, do we hand out the headsets for everybody? Just before
Yes,
she-
anyone who requires a headset, if you would come up to the counter and we can go ahead and provide that.
Yes, so for the purpose of public comment or any comments from the audience from now on, we will be doing simultaneous interpretation to both English and Spanish. So if you are monolingual in English and would like to hear her comments in English, then you can go ahead and grab a headset.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I want to make sure I communicated clearly that we don't have the option to provide it both in
we
two
don't?
different dials. I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll have to interpret it in English in the council chamber.
Okay. I'll sort it out. Thank you.
Ya puede seguir con su comentario, gracias.
Muy buenas noches para todos. Es un honor para mí como usuaria del Centro para Personas Mayores de Bell Gardens agradecer a todos los empleados por su arduo trabajo, su compasión, su paciencia, su dedicación con todos nosotros. Me siento muy orgullosa de que sean parte tan importante de nuestra vida y de nuestro CENER. Y quiero darles las muchas gracias, pero muchas gracias de todo corazón de parte de todos los seniors de Bell Gardens.
Gracias. Thank you. Madam Mayor, do you want to take it from here? I can hand over the
Yes, thank you.
certificate for you.
And then we'll do interpretation.
Yes. Good evening to everyone. It is an honor for me as a user of the Senior Center to thank all of the employees for their hard work, their compassion, their patience, and their dedication that they show to all of us. I am very proud to have them as part of the lives of the seniors and as part of our senior center. So on behalf of all of the seniors in Bell Gardens, I'd like to thank you all.
And now we could have our director say a couple of words.
Good evening again. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, what an honor it is for the team to be recognized here before you and before the city today. This team is fantastic, and there aren't really words to describe the effort and the heart that they put into the day-to-day operations and the special events that they host at the Senior Center especially. We have here today the supervisor of our Community Family Services Center, Diana Ortiz, who oversees the Senior Center, and also Edith Lopez, who is the direct supervisor and the recreation coordinator at our Senior Center. And under their supervision, they have worked together with this team of staff and poured their heart out. And I'm so grateful that it's being recognized today because it's a job well done and well deserved. So thank you so much. So Diana and Edith, if you want to come on up.
I'd like to invite our team, if you can also join us up here, please, that'd be great. On my end, just a really big thank you to our mayor and all of our council members for this recognition. We're really lucky to be able to have a job, or very fortunate to have a job that's not only fun, but it's also very rewarding because we create a lot of great memories with our seniors, not only for them, but for us as well, things that we'll take with us forever. So a huge thank you to you all, a huge thank you to our director, Elizabeth, for always being extremely supportive. But nonetheless, a huge thank you to our team. This recognition is for you all and all the hard work that you do every single day. So thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for this recognition. It really means a lot to our team that the work is being seen and it's being appreciated. So thank you very much. You guys are the backbone. You guys are the strength and the faces that our seniors see every day. You guys are the ones that make it happen. So thank you so much for everything you do on a daily basis. And once again, thank you so much for the recognition. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, before we take a picture, I'm going to open it for comments after I say something. I just want to thank all of you. I had the wonderful opportunity to attend as well the Mother's Day event that you had, and I was blown away. I'm always blown away by all the Parks and Recs events because all of you have invested time to learn your craft, to bring new stuff to the city. I know you all do the decorations and you do everything from A to Z. So that to me is beautiful. That thank you, director, for equipping them and giving them that support. So that all of them can learn all these different skills that hopefully you guys are investing outside of here as well, because you guys have such phenomenal skills. And I tell Liz all the time, I'm like, I hope they have a little side hustle here and there. But just seeing our seniors, how happy they are and how much they feel like this is their community and these are their events, and them owning it and just feeling so comfortable. It just means that you guys are investing the time to do the work every single day, not just during these particular events, but all the time. Because they feel at home, they look at home and they're happy. And for our elderly, I think that we can't ask for more. They're not secluded in the rooms, they're not secluded, sad, because sometimes these living spaces can have that effect on them. But all of you have done such an amazing job, and I'm eternally grateful. And thank you for allowing us to be a part of that event that day, and continue to invite us, and we'll try to make it out. But it was just beautiful to see that level of work, commitment, and just every little detail, from the gloves that the ladies were wearing to the decorations, the music, everything was just amazing. So thank you for the opportunity, and just I'm grateful for all of you. And open it up for comments. Okay.
I just want to say thank you as well. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend that event, but I did see pictures and it was absolutely beautiful. I think all the events that you guys put on are wonderful. I know that the senior citizens sometimes feel that they're forgotten, but definitely with a group like you guys, constantly showing them support and all the events that you guys do, they don't feel that way. They're always expressing their gratitude of the wonderful events you guys put on. So thank you so much.
Yes, and what a better showing that one of your seniors requesting for this recognition to be brought forward. That just speaks volumes. But let's go ahead and take a picture, but let's give them a big round of applause.
So just walk around the table and you go in front of it. Don't be scared. Okay. Very nice. So proud of you guys. Just keep it moving. There you go. They'll come right here around you guys. Oh yeah, it's done. You have to stagger. There you go. There you go. Frank is like the heart and soul of that place. We got you all in there. All right, everybody. 1, 2. Lupe, move your head a little bit. There you go. There you go. Beautiful. Oh, we should have had Emma in the picture.
Councilmember Chavez, you want to say something before they walk?
Yeah, real quick to the senior center staff, you know, and I've told y'all this multiple times. I'm extremely grateful to have here representing us at the senior center, incredible staff, right? That go above and beyond to make sure that our seniors feel welcomed, our seniors are attended, that they know that, you know, you guys are an extension of us, and at any problems they have, they could always reach out to you. I really enjoy going to the events that our senior staff hosts. I feel that when I'm around the senior center, I really feel that, you know, when we talk about residents in the community, I really feel that the seniors in our community are some of the happiest residents we have, you know, and I'm really happy that I can say that. I think that they're full of life and energy and passion, and their experiences and their journey are just incredible. The fact that each of you gets to make an impact on them, and you get to hear some of their stories, right? Because to an extent, maybe a lot of them see us as a grandson or a granddaughter, right? So again, I appreciate all of the hard work that you all do. You know, I want to thank Commissioner Sanchez for being here again, for all the work that she's done as well. You know, there's been the dances, the Father's Day event with the pool tournament, you name it, the Mother's Day event as well. I know last week we had the coffee with the coordinator event that I wasn't able to make it to, but I know that those are always great too. Again, you guys are just incredible. All of you just do a phenomenal job. I'm looking forward to the trips and the excursions as well. I heard the Aquarium of the Pacific is coming up. So, and the seniors really want to go to the casino. I know that that's another one. But again, just, and when I tell them that they want to go, we have the bicycle casino right here, and they don't want that one. But again, just want to say thank you. Thank you again on behalf of the whole city council. Really appreciate all the work that you do. So thank you.
We're now going to move on to public participations for items not listed on the agenda. Public participation is now open. City Clerk, can we please announce the instructions for public participation?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items not listed on the City Council Successor Joint Agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes, subject to an overall 30-minute period unless announced otherwise. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through the Zoom app may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. Before we move into the in-person comments, I did get one public comment card that the individuals here, Michael Sandoval, and he requested that I just read this out. He indicated he would like to request speed bumps on Scout Avenue across the street from Ford Park. And with that, Mayor, I think the remaining cards are provided to you, and with written comments that we received in the email, it was by a set of 3 emails by the same individual, and the full council already received that through what was submitted earlier. And with that, I think now it's the in-person.
Thank you, City Clerk. First up, Lee Squire.
Lee Squire, Vietnam veterans. Mayor, City Council, we the people of Bell Gardens, veterans of Bell Gardens. On Sunday, May 14, we honored Mother's Day. It is mothers who give birth to sons and daughters and the birth to our freedoms of this country and its community now and in the future. National Police Week was May 14 to May 20, 2023. Thank you, Mayor, for honoring our police officers with the presentation of the picture of the National Police Week 2023. I thank you. In fact, we thank you. Memorial Day is Monday, May the 29th, 2023. The Purple Heart Medal is the symbol of Memorial Day and honors those who gave their lives for the freedom of this country. On behalf of veterans of Bell Gardens, we ask a wreath be placed at Bell Gardens Veterans Memorial with the picture of the Purple Heart in the middle of the wreath. Thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. God bless military and its veterans. And God bless local policing and their families across America. Thank you.
Mr. Bruce A. Crow.
Good evening. Just a reminder, Alex and Luis Rojas's trial should start next month. I just want to keep that out in front of everybody so they're abreast of what's going on. Also, I wasn't going to talk about this, but since the young lady mentioned some Bible verses, I thought maybe we would throw something else out here in opposition to the glorification of any perverted or sinful activities which bring nothing but sin and shame to the city, the county, and the state, and anybody that participates in such things like LGBTQ+. The verses are here in Romans 1:26, starting at 26. Now listen closely. For this cause God gave them up unto vile passions.
Les entregó a las
So
pasiones
you can love the wrong
malvadas, así que uno
thing, whether
puede
that's
amar
sexual
las
love or emotional love. Okay? And there's an age factor involved in that too. So love is not love, okay? For their women change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise, also the men, leaving their natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one towards another. Men with men, working unseemliness and receiving in themselves that recompense that was due. And even as they refuse to have God in their knowledge, so you don't have God in your knowledge when you're going ahead and approving of these so-called pride flags and stuff. There's no pride in being gay. Okay, it's something that's earned. God gave them up unto a depraved mind. So there's mental illness, no doubt about it. And we have a mental health month, and we should acknowledge people and encourage them to turn away from these activities and turn to God and listen to God instead of going the other direction. A reprobate mind. So when the frontal cortex and the amygdala scientifically is overstimulated, people start acting in bad behaviors, and you need to turn away from that. And it's not just those that practice such things. Down in verse 32, and it says, who, knowing the ordinance of God, that they that practice such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but also consent with them that practice. Even the ones that approve are just as guilty. Thank you.
City Clerk, do we have any additional comments for non-agenda items?
We do not have any, and also including the virtual, we don't have anyone.
Thank you. If there's no objection by the members of the City Council and Successor Agency, I will go ahead and close public participation for non-agenda items. We're going to move on to public participation on agenda items. It is now open for items listed on the City Council Successor Agency joint agenda. City Clerk, please announce the instructions for public participation.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the public will now have an opportunity to speak on items listed on the City Council Successor Agency Joint Agenda. Please state your name for the record before addressing your comments to the members of the City Council and Successor Agency. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Callers wishing to make a comment may do so at this time by dialing *9 from your phone, and when instructed, dial *6 to unmute yourself. Individuals joining us through Zoom may request to make a comment by using the raise hand feature on Zoom and select the unmute or the microphone icon when instructed. We will begin to hear from the members of the public that are physically present in the council chamber.
First speaker is Mr. Bruce A. Crow.
As in the words of Pauly Shore, I'm back. Number 8, adoption of a resolution for SB1 funding. Now, I know you're going to adopt a resolution to get money for your projects around town, but I want to focus on the idea that this is commonplace amongst elected officials on councils, county supervisors, governors, mostly liberal Democrats. You have to have other people's money. You can't do anything on your own. You can't make anything. Your cities are collapsing. The state is collapsing. Your policies are terrible. And the idea that you think you're just going to keep throwing money at everything, it's like these people that come in here and look to you to solve their problems that you create. But you're going to do something, you're going to go along with a bill that increases the per gallon fuel excise tax, increases diesel fuel sales taxes, vehicle registration fees, and provides for inflationary adjustments to tax rates in the future. You have an appetite for other people's money. And if we put that together in an acronym, other, O, people's, P, money, M. Say it real fast with me. OPM, opium, opium. You're addicted to it. You need to leave people alone, stop raising their taxes and let them spend their own money however they see fit. Because what you produce with that money doesn't work. So I know you're going to do this, but it's just the idea that you have an insatiable appetite for it. You're addicted to it. If you want to do something that you think is a good idea, spend your own money. All you need to work on here is the street lights, the streets, the sewer, the police, and fire. Those are the main functions that you have to do. That's your job. Nothing else. Not this LGBTQ or fentanyl or the pot house or any of that stuff. That's none of your business. Keep it out. People don't want it. They don't want either one. And if you want to solve those problems, you can start by cutting off where the flow is for these things. Now, I know half of you think fentanyl's okay, but the other half don't like the pot either. So that's, you guys are going to have to decide that, but close the border and you'll cut off this stuff.
City Clerk, do we have any additional speakers?
We did not, and we did not receive any written comments.
Thank you, City Clerk. If there's no objection by the City Council and Successor Agency, I will go ahead and close public participation for agenda items. Moving on, City Manager, your report.
Yes, thanks again, Mayor Cortez. I just want to acknowledge this Monday is Memorial Day. That's a time where we remember those that have given their lives or lost their lives in the service of the U.S. military over the last 230 years or so. To celebrate we have a park here in Bell Gardens, Veterans Park. On Monday at 10 a.m. there'll be a ceremony at Veterans Park. It'll last about an hour long. So residents, veterans, loved ones that may have lost somebody are welcome to join. Also want to mention too, just remind everybody on Fridays, it's our farmers market also at Veterans Park from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. We're still working out the details of a kind of an art swap setup where residents can sell art and or some garage sale type items. So that will be coming here soon as well. But in the meantime, every Friday from 11 to 3. Also want to mention that our applications for our graduate banner program became available today. They're in paper available. They've been provided to counselors at the high school. We'll make sure that the adult school gets some tomorrow and they'll be posted online. The deadline will be June 9th, and this is for Bell Garden seniors that are going to college or some kind of a trade school or tech school. And it's anticipated those banners will be up there on our banner poles on Florence and or Eastern. The last thing I just want to mention is I want to welcome our new Public Works Director, Bernie Iniguez. He's seated here. So those that are watching online, you may see a new face if he had his camera on. And for those that are here, Bernie's seated here. He comes to us from the city of Bellflower after 22 years of service. And for those that haven't heard me say it already, or those that are listening online, he has a connection to Bell Gardens, went to Suva Elementary and Suva Intermediate when he was a child. So very happy to have Bernie here. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. We're now moving on to consent calendar. Does any member of the City Council or successor agency wish to pull any item for separate discussion?
I would like to pull item number 9 for separate discussion.
Item number 9. I'll go ahead and move to approve items 1 through 8 and item number 10. May I have a second? Second by Councilmember Barsana. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Barsana,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Chair Cortez.
Yes, motion carries for items 1 through 8 and item number 10. Now, item number 9, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Cortez and Councilmember. I'll just briefly state what the item is. It's award for professional services agreement for the Aquatic Center construction management and inspection services. This is the result of an RFP that was put out. The staff report contains pretty voluminous detail information, but staff will be happy to answer any questions or to provide any further detail that the council may have.
Could you walk us through the interview process that we established for?
Yes, Councilmember. Our Recreation Community Services Director has a presentation that kind of walks through, if that would be okay for us to open that up, Councilmember. And I will turn it over for the record to Liz Nava, our Recreation Community Services Director, to kind of walk through the process. And then if the council has questions, please feel free to interrupt Liz. I don't think she'll mind. And she'll be able to answer your question at that time.
Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. Good evening again, Council. This item before you tonight is just a brief overview of the Ford Park Aquatic Center Construction Management and Inspection Services RFP that was recently put out and the results of that process as well. Just as by means of background, in March of this year, the city put out an RFP for construction and inspection services. And as it was stated in the RFP, the city utilized what's called a qualification-based selection process. This is done where the proposed scope is reviewed, and then the fees are looked at after a review and ranking have been established. In addition to the RFP, because we have community development block grant funding as part of this project, there was a mandatory meeting with the city's consultant, Michael Baker International, who is our LACTA consultant, and who provided additional details to the firms who were submitting proposals on the CDBG requirements. Part of the requirement for the RFP was to submit the forms that Michael Baker had mentioned and that the RFP had mentioned. And those who did not submit the correct forms were considered non-responsive. So we had 5 firms attend the meeting and 5 firms submit proposals. And after the Michael Baker review, we had 4 that were found responsive. So of those 4 proposals, a panel of city staff and outside consultants reviewed the proposals and the proposals were scored. And then those 4 firms were invited to an interview and were answered questions and were allowed to give additional detail about their expertise and experience with building aquatic centers to the magnitude of our project. After the proposals were reviewed and the interviews were done, the scores were combined. And then the firms were ranked based off of their proposal scores and their interview scores. And again, as I mentioned before, the fees were not reviewed until after the rankings happened.
Liz, if you can maybe pause on that. I just want to be able to directly answer the council members' questions. So as Liz mentions here, there was a proposal review and an interview. So there was a panel that was convened. So the panel consisted of myself, the city manager, the Recreation Community Services Director, Liz Nava, the architect for the project, and also an outside recently retired public works director, I think retired from the city of Downey. And so this is a subjective review. You know, we look at the proposals, there's criteria established, and then points are awarded based on the criteria. And the same thing with the interview. The part that I would stress here for all the proposals is, you know, when Liz mentions that there's 4 qualified proposals. So what she's saying is there are 4 proposals that staff believes, based on the review, are from firms that could perform this work satisfactorily. So really, at this point, we're just doing our subjective review, looking to see what the panel believes to be the best proposals and the best answers to the interviews, and then combines those scores. So I just want to make it, you know, clear that, you know, we have a good group of potential consultants, contractors to do this job, and then we rank them in order based on the criteria that we've established.
This next slide shows the ranking of the 5 firms. The last firm you'll see was non-responsive and therefore did not receive further review. The top ranked firm, as was identified in the RFP, was reached out to primarily and negotiated their fees. And the original fee you see in the table here, and then after speaking with the top ranked firm, it was negotiated that their fees would be reduced. And the amount is now $2,040,352. And that includes both their scope of services as well as additional optional services that aren't necessarily required, but if the city so chooses, may select those optional services for them to perform as well. So the fiscal impact, again, the total amount of the agreement would not exceed $2,040,352 for the term of the agreement. And because we've received funding from various pots of money, including the city's general fund, the CDBG funding that the city receives, as well as various grants we've received from local elected officials and the Land and Water Conservation Fund, all of that will be used to pay this agreement. So it's staff's recommendation that the city council adopt the attached resolution and authorize the city manager to execute a professional services agreement for construction management and inspection services with the most qualified proposer for the Ford Park Aquatic Center project, subject to approval by the city attorney. And that concludes my report. I'm available for any questions council might have.
What objective metric did we have in measuring the scores? I know that you mentioned they were subjective, but did we have any objective ones?
I think by nature of the criteria that we have on there. So if you consider experience, you look at relative to the other proposals in that, how many aquatic centers have they built? What were the size? How is it current? Is it recent? Was it a long time ago? I personally see those as subjective. I think probably the most arguably objective criteria is probably the cost proposal. But I think the other criteria, and Liz, jump in if you think I'm being too broad by describing these as subjective. We didn't have it specified where if it was, I'll use an example. If you had built 10 aquatic centers before, you get 50 points. And if you've built 5, you get, 20 points, something like that. That would probably be more objective as to oppose a more subjective of looking at the information in the totality in the different categories of experience, the layout of the proposal, the responses to the questions, things of that nature. So I would describe the interview and proposal panel as more, once everybody was qualified objectively, that the panel really took more of a subjective approach, much as you do in like a job interview, something of that nature. And then the final, objective piece is what's the cost going to be?
Was the negotiated $2,040,000, was that a cap or was that a true negotiation with the firm?
So I'll let Liz talk about that.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding your question correctly, Councilwoman. A cap, so the firm, we reviewed the scope and negotiated with the firm the amount of time needed to accomplish projects, and also identified within the scope items that could be used in a as needed basis that could be separated. And so it was, I don't know if I'm understanding correctly what you mean with a cap or.
I'm wondering where the $2,040,000 came from. Was that something that we brought to the table with the firm and they said, oh, we can perform at this amount, or is this the amount that we can pay to get it done?
So, right. Okay. Thank you. I understand. So we have necessary things that are required within the RFP and within the scope of work to be done that are non-negotiable. And so the way a fee proposal works is sometimes there's an amount and a suggested amount of hours that will be done for this specific item. So we talked through what the item was, and if someone on their firm who maybe we could pay less to get the right job done to the top quality as well could be negotiated. We work through things like that. So we did have a budget in mind that we as staff were trying to meet. And so without telling a specific number, worked to see if we could make it fall within our budget without sacrificing or compromising any of the work that needed to be done by the firm.
And that's a usual practice in the selection process and something like this?
I'm sorry.
So would that be the usual practice in having this stipulation after the interview process happened in the proposals?
Correct. That was identified in the RFP as well, that this process would happen in this order. If we were unable to come to an agreement and an amount that was reasonable for this city, and the firm was not selected, we would then move on to the number 2 ranked firm. And that was identified in the RFP from the very beginning. Yes.
And last question, in regards to cost wise, I know that the number 1 ranked and number 2 ranked were only apart by a few points, and the cost was significant. How did we determine which one to pick? Because for me, 300,000 is significant and the points are only about 4 in difference. Would we know what category they fell short or in determining that?
Yes, but also I just want to remind you that the total amount of the agreement includes fees that are optional. So the mandatory amount that's required is about 1.7 million. And then we included in the agreement the total optional fee so that the city has the ability to add those services on as we go without having to stop and pause the project. So assuming that none of the additional fees would be needed, the total cost of the scope of services would be approximately $1.7 million. So it's up to 2 million because of the additional optional fees that were just bundled in for the agreement's sake. So we don't go beyond that. So we wouldn't exceed that amount.
So just to kind of sum up, why would we select what's listed as vendor one as opposed to vendor two? Because there's a cost difference. First off, part of it was because of the way the process was set up. So we looked to see who did we believe was going to provide the best level of service based on the interviews and the proposals. And then we looked at cost. And so what Liz was saying there is that we have not negotiated with vendor 2, 3, or 4, just as part of the process hasn't calling for that. But if we did, and we were to go through and add or subtract items within the agreement, we may come up with different numbers for vendor 2 or vendor 3 or vendor 4 that could be higher and possibly lower, but just that would depend on what they had included in their original proposal. So I think from an apples to apples comparison, we would almost have to go through and negotiate with all of the vendors to get everybody to have exactly the same proposal with all the exact same features to be able to say that, which one actually costs more or the other. So am I saying that right, Liz, as far as the dollar amount that's included in there? If we were trying to just match it to contract number 2, we could pull out some optional type items that we may or may not ultimately end up needing.
And part of the fee scope is determined based off the firm's ability to hire or the type of staff that they have on board internally. So part of the process is, also having to have sub-consultants do work on behalf of the firm. And so those things are also considered in the scope as well. And so fees vary for that reason as well. But yes, what Mike is saying is true.
And Councilmember too, I want to acknowledge and appreciate the cost difference that you mean. I think we appreciate that $300,000 is a significant amount of money. As a percentage of the project, it's still fairly considerable, but it's down in the single-digit percentage of the total project. So I think staff's recommendation with the dollar amount that's there is, while it's not the lowest cost bid, it's the one that we think brings the most value. And the extra $300,000 as a percentage of a $2 million project is probably in the 2% range, 1.5% to 2% range. So it's not significant when you look at the scope of the project, yet on its own, $300,000 is still a lot of money.
Those were all my questions. Thank you.
I have one last question, if I may. I noticed that you included here all of the proposals that are being discussed. Can you please elaborate on why you decided to do that?
Councilmember Barcena, yeah. So in working with legal counsel, working with staff, we thought it was prudent. This is a big project. This is the biggest project that we currently have going, just a little bit above our cistern project. And so we thought, just out of transparency, full disclosure, that if we included these proposals, everybody would be able to look at them. And I think also acknowledging that it's, the review, as I'm describing it, is fairly subjective when it comes to the way the points that are assigned as part of the interview process and the proposal submission process. So we thought for the decision makers, it made more sense to provide more information in case, you had the opportunity to look at the proposals and came to some other conclusion than what the panel had come up with.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? I'll open it up for motions.
I make a motion to take the recommendation from the staff and move forward with the project.
Is there a second for the motion?
Go ahead and second that motion.
We have a first and a second, and roll call vote, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barsina,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Vice Chair Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes, motion carries. City Manager, moving on to discussion item number 11.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item is the introduction of an ordinance regarding electronic filing of campaign statements and statements of economic interest. Those statements are currently filed in a paper form. And we'd like to move to an electronic filing format. With that, I will turn it over to our City Clerk, Daisy Gomez. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. The clerk's office is looking to implement an electronic filing system for campaign statements and statements of economic interest, which you all know as Form 700s. And those are filings that are required pursuant to the Political Reform Act. Okay, so everyone is aware, sorry. Prior to the implementation of an electronic filing system, there are a couple of pertinent legislative references listed here. The first one is just the Government Code Section 84615, which allows the local government to adopt an ordinance for those that are required to file Political Reform Act documents online or electronically. And the second is Government Code Section 84616, which requires the local government agencies to post those statements and reports on the city's website within 72 hours of each filing deadline. And then just so that you know, there's current information of filers that the city clerk's office is managing at the moment. And this is the most current from fiscal year 22 to 23. We have 90 Form 700 Statement of Economic Interest filings. And then we currently have 13 open committees that are campaign statements that are filed on a biannual basis. During the election years, the campaign statements, they fluctuate due to the number of candidates running for office and ballot measures that are considered. We get semi-annual statements, pre-election statement, the first and second pre-election statements. And then, of course, we get a lot of the other types of statements that may come in unscheduled. So there are two requirements regarding using an economic disclosure electronic filing system. And one is the adoption of the proposed ordinance is required to implement a certified electronic filing system of FPPC forms. So that essentially means that FPPC has to actually certify the system. We can't just use any electronic filing system. And the other is that the FPPC is required to approve an e-filing agency for the Form 700 statements of economic interest. These are agencies with the FPPC forms that are out there. Oops, excuse me. Oh no, the benefits. So implementation of an electronic filing system will promote transparency. So it's available, convenient for the committees, individuals, and the public. It provides 24-hour filing and viewing accessibility of the campaign finance information from any computer or any device. It also redacts information that's required by our government code section before it's made available to the public. It efficiently tracks, stores, sends reminder notices, and the filings go directly to FPPC. So we no longer have to depend on mailing them. The last thing to state is that really it's most importantly is that this will ensure that our filers and our office are compliant. So these are the agencies that have FPPC forms automated, and we look to see what all of these jurisdictions were using. To see what was the pros and cons. And there's many more, but we just limited our option to these. And so our recommendation is that the City Council introduce the title only and waive further reading of an ordinance to add the section to Title II of to the Bell Gardens Municipal Code relating to the electronic filing of campaign statements and statements of economic interest. And with that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions from council? Okay, hearing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve staff's recommendation that the city council waive full reading and introduce ordinance number 935 by title only to add chapter 2.61 to title II of the Bell Gardens Municipal Code relating to electronic filing for campaign statements and the statements of economic interest. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Chavez, roll call vote.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barcina,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez.
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes, motion carries. City manager, item number 12.
Thanks again, Mayor Cortez. This next item is seeking a resolution that would approve the purchase of playground equipment for Julia Asmus Park and Hannon Park. Before I turn it over to our Recreation Community Services Director, I'll just make a statement. We received a grant to purchase this playground equipment. We need about $67,000 of general fund monies to complete the purchase and to have the installation done for a total cost of $440,000. So with that, I will turn it over to our Recreation Community Services Director. Thank you, Mayor. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm jumping ahead to who will use the equipment, maybe more, and then who has the hard task of installing it and maintaining it and buying it. I'm sorry, Veronica. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Thank you, Mr. O'Kelly. So tonight is just an overview on what the city secured this. Oh, here we go. Here we go. For the Clean California Local Grant Program. So this is an overview on the things that have happened today, those that we're looking to do tonight, and then some things we can look forward to. So some background here is Assembly Bill 149 created the Clean California Local Grant Program to beautify and clean local streets, road, tribal land, our parks, pathways, transit centers, and other public spaces. The city in June of 2022 was successfully completed an application and was awarded $510,000 for the BG Keep Parks Clean Beautification Project. And that project will renovate Julia Asmus Park, Hannon Park by replacing existing playgrounds, adding ADA rubber surface, replacing picnic tables, trash receptacles, installing anti-litter signage and artwork, and some signs about the history and culture of the community, as well as planting trees. And so here is a good example of some outreach that's already started. It shows some of the Instagram posts. One of my favorites is the middle one because it's just showing love on Valentine's Day to the park. And part of the outreach was to have these cleanup events. So far, there's been 4 cleanup events that have been hosted, and the last one was in September. Oh, I'm sorry, was on Saturday, April 15th, that coincided with our Earth Day at Hannon Park and Asmus Park. And staff did reach out to the school district, and middle and high school students joined in. And still scheduled will be some events in fall of 2023 and also spring of 2024. And why we're here tonight is for the replacement of the playgrounds that are currently at Asmus and Hannon. And this is the rendering of the new playgrounds that will go in. And this will also bring some interpretive signage, this grant that can provide some history on the community and the region. So it'll be some educational signage out there. And lastly is the artistic elements. And so this is quite exciting. It's 4 different artistic elements that'll be part of the grant. So that can be any combination of these things. So we're hoping to reach out to local artists and maybe they can submit proposals on what that could be. So it could be, for example, a mural in Asmus Park, a combination of a mural and maybe some trash cans that are decorated or artistic element to them, sculptures and other type of artistic components that'll take place. And with that, the grant needs to be completed by June 30th of 2024. So tonight, we're asking for City Council to adopt the resolution approving the agreement with Miracle for the purchase and the installation of the playground equipment, and also to appropriate that $67,000. And so with that, we can answer any questions. And with us today is also Megan Lanou of Avant-Garde, who assisted in completing the grant and submitting that grant application. So we can answer any questions.
Any questions from council? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and move to approve staff's recommendation to adopt the resolution approving the agreement with Miracle Recreation Equipment Company, as well as to appropriate and not exceed the amount of $67,000.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Barsina. May we have roll call vote?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barsina,
Yes.
Councilmember Chavez,
Yes.
Councilwoman Pulido,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez,
Yes.
and Mayor Cortez.
Yes, for myself as well. That motion carries. Thank you so much, Veronica, for the presentation. Okay, we're moving on to City Council member. That was the last item, right, Mike?
Yes, Mayor.
Okay, moving on to City Council Successor Agency comments. Councilmember Barsina.
Just thank you to staff for the work that you guys are putting together and moving things forward. I know that sometimes decisions are not easy to make, but that's why we're all here and you guys facilitate that process. So I appreciate it. Also, thank you to the Recreation and Community Services Department for everything that you do. Congratulations to the police department on the police week and all of that good stuff that you guys are doing on that side of the city. And Public Works also doing an amazing job as usual. And I don't see Gus here, but I also appreciate the Community Development Department and all that they're doing for our community. Thank you, City Manager, and thank you, Council.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you so much, everyone, for a quick meeting. Barely got an hour over. Real quick, I just want to touch on a couple of things that happened between then and last week. Between now, since the last council meeting, one of the things that I noticed was we had a financial literacy workshop hosted at Vets Park. I think it's really important to continually having these type of workshops. I think this one was around building your credit, right? Credit is so important, being able to understand how FICO score works and the importance of being able to, potentially get a loan for a home, get a loan for a car, all that, right? So I'm glad to see that we're bringing that forward here. Moving forward, and I know we've touched on it before, maybe some sort of mental health workshops to sort of encourage our community to, be more open-minded about different ways to treat certain things, right? That may be going on. So that's one of the things I saw. I also want to mention that we obviously had Mother's Day since the last council meeting, and I do want to say thank you to Councilmember Barsina. He did something at the Ross Hall. We had a lot of mothers from the community coming out, so I really want to appreciate the invitation. You extended that invitation, so it was a great event, and I do want to say thank you for that. Let's see. Other than that, pretty big. Oh, there was a La Casa meeting. That was the first meeting that happened. It's the newest countywide board created. It seats all the 88 cities along with the board of supervisors. I went ahead and I made a public comment. As I mentioned before, I'm going for the small city seat to represent the small cities in LA County. And that vote should happen before the next meeting. next month. So between now and then, I'm still making calls to mayors across the county. But I have a good feeling. And again, you know, still represent our community, represent our region, and the importance of affordable housing, right? Other than that, I'm looking forward to seeing the new events coming up. It seems like it was just yesterday when we had the winter events, and now it's like halfway through the year. It goes by so quick. And with that said, thank you so much, everyone.
Councilwoman Pulido.
I want to congratulate our mayor for graduating from law school last Friday. So congratulations. We all know that you've been working really hard and completing that lifelong dream. So soon we'll all have our own personal attorney. I mean, we love you, but Alejandra is going to be our go-to for personal dilemmas. And I also want to congratulate my education commissioner, Andrew Leon. He finally got married after 14 years of dating this wonderful woman, Marisela Reyes. So he got married on Saturday and he had the most beautiful wedding ever. And you could tell that the wedding was for the bride and he just got invited. So that was beautiful. So congratulations, but Alejandra, you did it. So thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Sanchez.
I want to thank staff for all the hard work that you guys have been doing, all the events. I want to thank specifically the police department for allowing me to go on a ride along. Thank you to Officer Lopez. It was really enlightening to be able to be with one of the police officers and see all the things that they encounter. So I was glad that I got to do that during Police Week. So thank you, Chief, and to your staff. I'm really excited to see the college banner program up and running. I know this is something that is close to my heart as an educator, but also because when I was on the Education Commission was really supporting that and hoping to make this happen. So I think it's been a little over the year in the making of this actually coming back to the city. So I'm really excited to see that. Also, Alejandra, congratulations. I think it's an amazing accomplishment and you're just a wonderful role model for everybody. So thank you and have a good night.
Well, first, thank you, colleagues, for your congratulatory messages. It has been a long road, but I'm very proud that I've earned my Juris Doctor. But with all that, thank you, staff, so much for all your hard work and everything that came forward today. We've approved some very important items, and I think we have full faith and confidence that our staff is guiding us in the best direction and making the best decisions for what's best for our community. And we just sit up here and we make very hard decisions sometimes, but it's for the best and the best interest of our community of Bell Gardens. Lastly, I would like to end this meeting with a moment of silence for two different reasons. First, to honor Memorial Day and honor all the members of our military who have lost their lives in sacrifice for our country. And also I would like to offer a minute of silence for former council member and Mayor Chris Garcia from the city of Cudahy, who recently and unfortunately passed away this past week. My condolences to him and his family, and he will be greatly missed. Thank you. With that, I'd like to adjourn this council meeting.